Do you think it's going to be harder now for the international community to know what's going on, given the building has been destroyed, a number of television equipment and other media equipment has also been destroyed? How are the agencies going to get their information out?
Indisputably, that equipment has been destroyed. Those transmission facilities have all been destroyed, and those news organisations have lost their places to operate. Now, I'm sure that they'll work very, very hard to try and find alternative facilities. But either way, the fact is that it is incredibly difficult to set things up and to replace all those lost equipment, the lost documentation, all of the archives that those news organisations will have had. And remember, as a news organisation, it is impossible to cover a place as divided as the Palestinian-Israeli conflict by having offices on one side of the conflict, only based in, say, Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. News organisations absolutely have to have operations inside the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And in the absence of that, all we end up with is Israeli intelligence, Israeli say-so on what they're doing, and Hamas say-so and about what's taking place inside the Gaza Strip. It's a deeply, deeply unsatisfactory situation. It's not just for the international community; it's for international organisations like the United Nations and others. We need those independent eyes and ears to give us a clear sight about what's taking place in the region. And as I said, it really is now up to Israel to make sure that is allowed to continue.
How do you think that the journalists would have been feeling? They were given just 1 hour to pack up their things, to evacuate and leave. How do you think they're feeling?
Oh, they'll be devastated, absolutely devastated. As I said, these guys have been operating out of those buildings for years and years and years. And I know that they've got not just loads of memories, but they will have lost their archives, their records, their equipment. They'll have lost a lot of the relationships that they've formed. This is not just a physical blow to their equipment, but also a fairly heavy emotional blow as well. They'll be angry, they'll be upset. And they'll be working hard, though, I think, to find an alternative. In a way, setting up and re-establishing new offices and getting back on air is itself a form of resistance. It's a way of saying to the authorities that we're not going to be silent, you're not going to be able to stop us from operating.
Peter, we saw the US president trying to ease tensions. He's reached out to both the Palestinian president and Israeli prime minister. What do you make of his intervention? Will it likely have any influence?
I think it does have influence. Look, there is no two ways about it. The US is, without doubt, the most important power broker within the region. It carries enormous influence over the Israelis. It's always going to be a complicated political calculus for any American president, particularly because the Israeli lobby inside the United States is so powerful and influential. But equally, the US provides enormous amounts of support, military and intelligence support and financial support to Israel. And so it does have what the US says really matters. But I don't think just because Joe Biden steps into this is a guarantee that this thing is going to be over, the situation is going to resolve itself and that the Israelis will pull back. I think it's important to see the Americans engaged, and I think the Biden administration is much more actively involved and supportive or taking a more neutral position than the Trump administration did, and I think that's a really important aspect to the conflict at the moment. But I don't think we're going to see things. We're not going to see things end anytime soon.